Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. We had a listener write in and request this one, so get ready to revisit a real classic.
Always fun to revisit a classic.
Right, this time we're diving into Tim Burton's 1988 masterpiece, Beetlejuice. I actually just rewatched it last night, and I'd kind of forgotten how much I love this movie,
It's one of those films that just gets better with each viewing.
for sure. And we've got all these notes and details from what seems like the ultimate Beetlejuice fan. It's honestly kind of amazing.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
Totally. But where do we even start? Oh, you know what's always struck me about this film? It's like a haunted house story, but from the ghost point of view, which is kind of genius.
Yeah, it definitely flips the script on the typical ghost story. Instead of terrified homeowners, we've got Adam and Barbara Maitland trying to figure out how to evict the living from their home.
Talk about relatable. Like you go on vacation, right?
Yeah.
Maybe finally finish that big project you've been putting off. Bam. Dog in the road, a
Well,
bridge.
You're speaking my language. Happens to the best of us.
Right. And then you're stuck with a copy of the handbook for the recently deceased and a whole lot of existential confusion. It's classic Tim Burton.
Absolutely. You can't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all, even though, let's be real, it's also kind of terrifying. Like Adam's little trip to the sandworm planet.
Okay, that whole sequence, pure visual comedy gold,
Yeah.
but also weirdly unsettling at the same time.
Right. That's Burton's genius for you.
But speaking of unsettling, we should probably talk about the Dietzes, the family that moves into the Maitland's home.
Oh, yeah, the Beetses. They definitely bring a whole other level of, let's say, unique energy to the house. Especially Delia, with her interesting taste in interior design.
That's one way to put it. It's like this huge clash of styles, right? The Maitlands just want a little peace and quiet, and the Dietzes are over here trying to make the place their own.
You know, it actually makes you think about, like, how we interact with the spaces we inhabit. We all want to leave our mark, but sometimes we forget that someone else's mark might already be there.
Deep, man. Deep, but also true. And then, of course, we have Lydia, the Dietz's daughter.
Ah, Lydia, the ultimate goth icon.
Right. And, she's the only one who can actually see the Maitlands.
Which, if you ask me, says a lot about her character. She's drawn to the unusual, the unseen, not afraid of the things that make most people uncomfortable.
She's definitely the friend you want at your Halloween party. But I think before we get too far, we should probably introduce the ghost with the most.
You mean the one and only Beetlejuice?
Who else?
Well, he's not exactly the quiet, contemplative type, is he? More like chaos personified in a striped suit.
And played to absolute perfection by Michael Keaton.
Oh, absolutely. He owns every scene he's in.
You never know whether to laugh or hide under your seat.
Sometimes both at the same time.
Right. But before the Maitlands unleash Beetlejuice on the unsuspecting Dietzes, they try their hand at some good old-fashioned haunting techniques.
And let's just say, their efforts are, shall we say, more charming than terrifying.
Oh, totally. Like that dinner party scene, singing shrimp, it's hilarious.
Satire comedic genius.
It shows just how differently the living and the dead, experience the world, you know? What's scary to the Maitlands is just another Tuesday night for the Dietzes.
I mean, how can you not love a movie where a shrimp cocktail turns into a terrifying monster? But, while the Maitlands are trying to scare the Dietzes, the film takes kind of a darker turn when we focus on Lydia.
Yeah, totally. It's like, under all that outrageous humor, Beetlejuice is dealing with some pretty heady stuff. Lydia's contemplating suicide, right? That's intense.
It is, and it's a reminder that, sometimes beneath the surface, people are dealing with some really difficult emotions, even in a movie like this.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting, right? Because it's Barbara, the ghost who just wants everyone to chill out, who ends up connecting with Lydia.
Right. There's something really beautiful about that, actually. Barbara sees Lydia's pain, her loneliness, and she reaches out to her, even though, they're from completely different worlds, literally.
It's true. And their scenes together are so, touching. Especially when you think about how rare it is to see a ghost comforting a living person who's, thinking about ending their life.
Right. It's definitely not your typical ghost story trope.
But just when it seems like everyone's, starting to figure things out, someone else comes along and messes everything up. Enter Otho.
Otho, the Dietz's interior decorator, right?
Yep, that's the one. And, typical Otho, he finds the handbook for the recently deceased and sees it as, his ticket to fame and fortune.
Classic Otho. Always looking out for number one.
Right. And he's so focused on, exploiting the supernatural that he doesn't even stop to think about the consequences.
Which are, pretty dire. especially for the Maitlands.
You're telling me that whole seance scene, so intense.
Seeing the Maitland's spectral forms literally disintegrating. Talk about high stakes.
And, of course, who swoops in to take advantage of the situation?
Beetlejuice. Always the opportunist, that one.
He senses Lydia's desperation to save the Maitlands and offers her a deal.
A deal she probably should have thought twice about.
Right. I mean, Beetlejuice is offering to help, but at what cost?
And that's the thing about Beetlejuice, isn't it? He's always got an angle.
Totally. But Lydia's, like, desperate. She's
Yeah.
willing to do whatever it takes to save her friends.
Even if it means, marrying a ghost with questionable hygiene.
Okay, that wedding scene. Talk about a visual feast. Beetlejuice turning into a giant snake.
Yeah.
The Maitlands fighting him off.
Pure Burton chaos.
It's hilarious and terrifying all at the same time. But through it all, you see how much the Maitlands care about Lydia.
Yeah, they really stepped up and became the family she always needed.
They did. And speaking of family, let's talk about that ending.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not your typical happily ever after.
Right.
But there's something about that last scene with everyone kind of like finding their groove
Totally.
that's really heartwarming.
It is, yeah. It's like they all finally figure out a way to, coexist.
Right. Even if that means sharing the house with a sandworm every now and then.
Exactly. And you know what I love about that? It shows that the Dietzes have really, opened their minds.
For sure.
They've gone from being completely oblivious to the supernatural to embracing it.
And the Maitlands, too.
Yeah.
Like, they finally realized that maybe being stuck with the Dietzes isn't so bad after all.
They found a different kind of family, one that goes beyond, the whole living versus dead thing.
Totally. And then there's Lydia.
Don't even get me started on Lydia.
Right. Talk about a transformation.
She finally finds a place where she truly belongs.
Where her, darkness is celebrated.
Exactly. No more trying to fit in with the normal kids.
She's found her people.
Her tribe.
And honestly, isn't that what we all want?
Deep down, I think so.
To find people who get us, who accept us for who we are, even if we're a little strange and unusual.
Which, let's be honest, we all are in our own ways.
So true. And I think that's what makes Beetlejuice so timeless.
Definitely.
It's this celebration of individuality, this embrace of the weird and wonderful.
And you know what else I love about it? It finds humor in death.
Right. Which is not an easy thing to do.
Not at all. But Burton manages to do it with such, grace and wit.
Totally. He doesn't shy away from the sadness, the fear, the unknown.
But he also reminds us that life, even in the afterlife, can be hilarious.
Word. So basically what we're saying is Beetlejuice is a must-watch.
Absolutely. If you haven't seen it lately or ever, do yourself a favor and check it out.
You won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
And hey, you might learn a thing or two about shrimp cocktails.
Or sandworms.
Or exorcisms.
The possibilities are endless.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good to me.
But hey, before we go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite films. And let us know in the comments what you think of Beetlejuice. Have you seen it? What are your favorite moments? We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy watching.